Hey friends, it's Lynn here at 1A Auto. Today we're working on a 2007 Toyota FJ Cruiser, and we're going to be doing the SERP belt tensioner. It's going to be a fairly easy job. I want to be the one that shows you how to do it. If you need this or any other part, you can always check us out at 1AAuto.com. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to remove both these skid plates. Using my 12mm. You can use a ratchet, you can use an air gun, whatever you have access to. Obviously, air gun's a little bit quicker. There's 4 bolts, so I got 3 of them. I'm gonna have 1 left here, so that means the skid plate's gonna be ready to come down. So I'm gonna get ready to hold that as soon as I get this on. There we are. Grab the skid plate, get that out of the way, we'll set it aside. So we'll do the forward skid plate now. There should be 4 bolts in this as well. 1 here, 1 there. 1 should be there, it's imaginary. 1 there also, imaginary. On the front of this, it has little hooks that go into the frame. Right here, it's 1. And then the other one's right here. So what you would do is you would start with the forward ones, take those out, then you work your way to these, okay? Once you remove these, the skid plate can come down this way towards you or towards the front. So you want to be careful for your face, but the hooks are going to make it so it can't completely fall straight down. Okay, bring it down and then slide it out towards the front of the vehicle. Should want to slide right out here. Just get this hook off of there. Oh. There it is. So here's the hooks I was talking about. And they just go right up inside here. Okay, now that we've removed the skid plate, we can access the petcock, which is right here. This is the drain for your cooling system. You want to, of course, make sure you drain it into a proper recycling receptacle so you can dispose of it properly. Wear your safety glasses and your hand protection. Just gonna go ahead and turn that to the left until fluid starts coming out. There we are. All right, we'll let that completely drain out and then we can continue with our service from the top. Okay, now that we've got that draining, I'm just gonna open up this radiator cap right here. We'll take a look at it. This one looks like it's original. It's been on there for a while. I'm gonna go ahead and replace this. I'll set this aside for now though. So now I'm gonna remove the cover right here. I'm gonna use a 10mm. Set those aside. Lift this up, pull it towards you, slides right off. We'll set this aside. Okay, next step, we're gonna remove these little push clips. Something as simple as a small pocket screwdriver will do that. What you do is you lift up the center part, that unlocks these ears, and then you can slide it up. We'll set that aside. Do the same for all these push clips. There we are. All the push clips. Grab this out of the way. We'll set it aside. All right. Get this off of here. That gives us access to get to right here. You can use a 10mm. One bolt. Set this aside. Grab this one. Bolt number 2, same as number 1. Set it aside. Got our last bolt right over here. Continuing with our 10mm. Number 3, same as the other 2. Can't mix those up. We'll grab our reservoir. We'll set this aside. We're just going to remove this hose. There we are. Set this aside. We're going to remove this clamp right here. Shake it around a little bit, get it to break free. These pliers are great, except getting the exact right size for things sometimes can be a pain. Slide it down the hose. You're gonna grab your hose, give it a little wiggle. If it doesn't seem like it wants to break free, this one almost kind of looks like it will. Yep, it's coming off. Okay. We'll set that aside. You can check your hose. Make sure you don't see any dry rot cracks in there when you squeeze it. This hose still looks decent. Set it aside. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna try to remove these nuts right here. Okay? What I'm gonna do first though is I'm just gonna try to loosen them all up. Once I loosen them all up, I'm gonna remove the serpentine belt. These right here are 12mm nuts. So you just take your wrench while the belt's still on, set it on there, and just give it a little shake to break it free. If you go slow, it's just probably gonna spin the pulley, so you just gotta really kind of jam onto it. Try to snap it free, okay? Like I said, you don't wanna fully remove these nuts. If you fully remove the nuts, the pulley's gonna be able to shift and it might throw the belt off. So keep that in mind. Okay, we've got all 4 of those loose. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove the serpentine belt. We'll get that out of the way and we can continue. Okay, so to get to the tensioner pulley, which is located directly to the driver's side of the water pump pulley or the fan clutch pulley, you're just gonna go right here with your 14mm socket and lift up on it. That relieves tension on the belt. Take the belt off of whichever pulley you can easily reach. For me, it was the power steering pump. We'll get our tool out of here. Okay, so now we have no tension on this. We can go ahead and take out all 4 of these bolts, or nuts, I mean. That's what they look like. We'll remove all these, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, get our last nut off of here. Set it aside with the other 3. Now we can grab our assembly, pull it right off. Here we are. We'll set the fan aside. There it is. Cool. Now we'll move on to the next step. Okay, we'll just remove this right here. That makes it so these hoses will come off of the fan shroud. There we are. Now those won't be holding us up. We're gonna remove a 10mm right here. That's what it looks like. We'll set this aside. Okay. We're going to remove the 10mm on the other side of the engine, or the other side of the radiator. See if I can remove this. Same as the first. I'll put both of those together. Be easy to remember how they go together. We can grab our fan shroud and our fan assembly. We're going to pull them both up at the same time. Pull our fan assembly out. And there we are. There's our fan assembly. Okay. Grab the shroud. We'll remove that. Easy peasy. Okay. So let's get this belt completely off of here. Just gonna grab it, take it like that. It's a good idea to have a picture of the way that this was on prior to taking it off. It's gonna be a little easier. Get that pulley off of there. Ooh, nasty. Talk about that in a second. Okay, there's our serpentine belt. Cool. Okay, so this is the back side of the water pump pulley right here. All these pink crusties that you see all around everywhere, and even the muck that's in there, that's from coolant, okay? When the coolant dries up, turns into crusties. We got it all along the bottom side of the water pump there. This water pump is definitely no good. That means it's leaking out of a seal, and under pressure, the coolant's seeping out. So we're gonna go ahead and replace this water pump. So right down here, let's see if I can find it. Right there. That's our bolt that we're gonna remove, that I was telling you that goes to the bottom of the alternator. 14 millimeter with an extension, 3/8 ratchet will get it done. You could use an air gun if that's what your preference is. It's completely up to you. Okay, get this bolt out of here. That's what it looks like. We'll put this aside safely and we'll move along. So right here, we have a little 10 millimeter headed bolt. That just holds this AC line in, so it's nice and secure, can't move around. But we're gonna be removing the AC compressor, or not removing it, but essentially just unbolting it, unsecuring it, kind of setting it aside. So we need to have more slack here. So I'm gonna remove this, and that's gonna give us some flexibility because we have our hose up there. Of course, these are pressurized lines, so you don't wanna put too much pressure on any of this stuff. So just bear that in mind when you're doing your work. And of course, don't disconnect any AC lines unless you have proper machinery. There's our bolt. There's our slack. Very cool. All right, let's move ahead to the next step. Okay, so the AC compressor, to get it unsecured from the vehicle, there's 3 bolts. There's one located up top, all the way up there. Then there's 2 along the bottom. There's one towards the front of the AC compressor, right here. And then there's one towards the rear of the AC compressor, pretty much lined up with it. 3 bolts total. We'll have that unsecured from the vehicle. We can maneuver it a little bit and hold. Oh yeah, 12 millimeter, short extension, and I'm only using a 1/4 inch ratchet, just because it's nice and small. I can get in here with it. Okay, get that one pretty much loosened up here. I can grab it with my hand. Yeah. Just gonna pull it out, I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'm gonna put it back in a couple threads. It's nice and long. That's what it looks like. Okay. Just gonna put it back in. Seems a little counterintuitive, but if you're just removing it, you don't need to see what the bolt looks like. You can just leave it in a few threads. And that's just so when we remove the lower ones, the compressor can't come falling down, potentially hurt our hands by crushing them or anything like that, okay? We wanna make sure you're safe. I'm gonna go for the next hardest one, which is all the way in the back there. Let's reach my ratchet back with my 12 millimeter. Try to get it on the bolt. That's a tight one. Okay, so I get that one loose. Just gonna break this one for you real quick. Then I'm gonna grab like a swivel and a longer extension, and I should be able to get that rearward one out a little quicker, a different way, now that it's broken free. Okay, feels like it's nice and loose. Just gonna get my stuff off of here. Okay, there we are. That bolt's ready to come out. So here we go, friends. I've got the vehicle supported off the ground. The wheel's just barely touching, so the majority of the weight is off of the wheel. I'm gonna use my 21 millimeter socket and a long breaker bar. I'm just gonna break all 6 of these lug nuts free. I don't wanna loosen them up too much. I don't wanna damage my studs by the wheel, you know, cocking off to the side or anything. There we are. All All 6. Now we can raise the vehicle. We'll make sure it's safely supported. We'll take off all the lug nuts and remove the wheel. 1 lug nut left. We're gonna hold the wheel so it can't move around. Come on, baby. There it is. Set these aside. Remove our wheel. Set it aside so it's safe. Okay. So right down in here is where the last bolt is. Oh yeah. That's a super long bolt. We're just gonna leave it in the AC compressor. All right, now since we're in here, I'm just gonna fully remove the forward bolt that we had in a couple threads. It's a little easier to get through here. There we go. AC compressor can move around. At this point, you want to be super careful not to break any of those lines, okay? There's compressed gas in there. If you do end up loosening any of them or breaking them or anything like that, just clear the area and call the proper authorities because it is a hazardous material. All right, cool beans. Let's move along. Okay, so on the upper part of the alternator, you have a 14mm head bolt right there. I'm just gonna put my ratchet and my 14 on there. Turn it to the left to break it free. Oops. Let's see if that's gonna help me at all. Feels like a no. Bottom bolt's out. Okay. All right, so it really doesn't look like there's too much holding that. So I'm gonna grab my pry bar, try to come from underneath. I'm just gonna see if I can get that alternator to pivot at this point, which it does, so that's nice. So right along the bottom of the alternator, you've got your rearward ear. You can see it with my little green tab. On that ear, there's a little bushing. That bushing right there pulls in and goes up against the bracket when you tighten up your lower bolt. What we need to do now, spray this with some penetrant and then use some sort of pry bar or screwdriver or whatever you've got. And we need to drive that back through a little bit so it comes away. And that's gonna give us movement for when we put the alternator back in. It'll slide in nice and easy. So I'm gonna grab some penetrant and my pry bar and a small hammer, and we'll give it a couple bonks. Okay, so I've got a pry bar, my hammer. I'm gonna go right up against that bushing. If I had a shorter pry bar with the hammer tip on it, I would totally use that, but this is what I've got that has the hammerable end on it, so. Okay, let's see. Looks like we need to go a little further with it. So I'm gonna try to come at an even harsher angle here. I need that to go in. Whatever. All right, just keep giving it a couple bonks here. There we go, that did it. Very nice. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the upper bolt with my 14mm wrench. You can continue with your ratchet and your socket or whatever you want to do, but you're going to use a 14mm to remove this bolt. Okay, the bolt's ready to come out. There we are. It's the upper alternator bolt. It's got a washer. It doesn't come off, so you can't lose it. We'll set this aside. Cool. All right, now we can move the alternator around quite a bit. We need to pull it off of the lower area. If you're like me and you couldn't get that bushing to push back, well, it kind of isn't the best, but we'll just make do with what we can here. There's wires going up here, So you want to make sure that as you're pulling on this, you're not really putting too much of a tug on anything. Obviously, I'll probably have to tell you too much about that. But essentially we need the alternator to come off the lower bracket, which is almost there at this point. There we are. Cool. Okay. So now, with the alternator off the bracket, I can see the bolts for our tensioner. So we're gonna go ahead and remove those. Okay, so here's where the lower part of the alternator was. That's where we just pried the alternator off of, right? So now we have access to where our bolts are. We can see this one, and this one, right? Easy peasy. And then these two right here, they're still kind of hidden by the AC compressor, but if we move it around, we should be able to get to those. So I'm gonna start with the upper bolt here. That's all the way up at the top of that tensioner assembly. Try to get that to break free. There we are. Cool. I'm gonna remove this bolt. Once again, this is the upper bolt on the tensioner assembly. 14 millimeter. Okay, this should be almost ready. There we are. It's the upper bolt. Goes through the top portion of the tensioner unit. I'm gonna grab the tensioner. Just like that. I'm gonna leave it in the new one so I know where it is. Okay, we have our other two bolts. Just move the AC compressor a little bit. I can get to that one okay. Right down through here. It's on there. I'm gonna switch to my air gun. It's just a 3/8 air gun. As you can tell, it's much quicker. I'll grab that bolt real quick. There it is, super short. Right there. Okay. This one's a little harder to get to. Let's see if I can finagle the AC compressor. Come in over it. And right down like that. There we are. Bolt number 3, same as bolt number 2. Okay. Easy peasy. We have 2 more bolts left. Those 2 I'm going to get from underneath, and I should be able to shift this AC compressor out of my way to be able to get to them. So our other 2 bolts are right up in here, okay? So to get to those, we're just gonna have to try to pry our AC compressor away. So use your pry bar or whatever you've got, just try to wedge it in there. If you can get it wedged in, that holds it away. Now we can get to our bolts. We have 1 bolt, here's my thing, right inside this, okay? The second one, we come back, it's right there, okay? 14 millimeter, 14 millimeter, pop it off, okay? Easy peasy, okay? Last bolt, or rearward lower bolt coming out. There it is. You just have to use whatever you can to move the compressor around to get it so you can get to the bolts, okay? We'll set this aside and we'll go ahead and get that last bolt out of there. So let's see if I can get my 14 millimeter. Okay, there's our bolt. It's ready to come out. Probably gonna fall. Okay, there we are. Whew. Grab our tool. Last bolt. We'll set that in the tensioner. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. tensioner to break free here. Alternator is still resting on it. There we are. They put plenty of stuff in the way here. There's our tensioner assembly. Okay friends, a quick product comparison for you. Over here we have our tensioner out of our 2007 Toyota FJ Cruiser. Over here we have our quality 1A auto part. They're both the exact same, okay? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mounting holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mounting holes. We've got the area for where our alternator goes on. Same. 3 holes right here for the compressor, and of course we have the 4th hole in the engine. 1, 2, 3 holes there for the compressor. We've got everything we need on our brand new tensioner assembly. With that said, I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be a quality part to install into the vehicle, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. If you need this or any other part, you can always check us out at 1aauto.com. Thanks. Okay, so now if you wanted to, you can go ahead and transfer over the bolts from inside our new assembly to the old assembly, just so you know where they are when you're reinstalling. But it's actually pretty easy. You don't even have to do that because this, and this are all the same size bolts. This one right here is much longer than the others. So as long as you remember that the one that has this large area right here has a long bolt in it, you're pretty much good to go. Okay? Even if you try to do it wrong, well, I'm sure you could figure it out. I just want to let you know, transfer them over if you're worried about forgetting. If you're not worried about forgetting because they're all the same and you got one long bolt, then just go ahead and you do you, boo-boo. Just take them all out. So we've got our tensioner assembly. We're just going to get it back up in here, just like this. Okay? It sits with the carving facing towards the driver's side, and that's where the AC compressor is going to sit. We'll just get it back up into its location. Just have to do a little bit of maneuvering, move some stuff around, do whatever you got to do to get it back into its spot, okay? Your situation at this point is probably going to be a little bit different than mine because it depends on where everything's resting for you. Very nice. So now we're going to get all these bolts started before we tighten any of them down. So you're going to grab all 5 of your bolts, start them in, at least a few threads. Once they're started in, you can go ahead and bottom them out, and then we'll try to tighten them up. Okay. I got my long bolt, which is the top bolt, getting ready to go. It's going through the tensioner assembly and starting into the engine at this point. I'm starting with that one. It's pretty hard to get to, so I figured, why not? All right, now I'm just gonna get the rest of these started and move along. Just keep turning, just keep turning. This is the last bolt. All of them are, at this point, are started. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this down. I'm gonna grab the torque spec real quick, and any bolts that I can reach with the torque wrench, I'm gonna do that way. And the ones that I can't reach with the torque wrench, I'm just gonna try to get it as close as possible. Okay, they're all started. We're just gonna snug them up. There's one. All right, let's move ahead and do the rest of them real quick. All right, all the bolts are started, so we're just gonna go around and tighten all 5 bolts. The 4 shorter ones and the 1 longer one up along the top. It's bottomed out. Just give it a little bit more, and that's it. Make sure you count all 5. That's 1. Okay. we go. It's our last one here. Nice and tight. Okay, all 5 bolts for the tensioner assembly are nice and tight. We're clear to move ahead to the next step. All right, we have our upper alternator bolt here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna lift up the alternator, bring it up to this area right here, and then we're gonna put our bolt through, and that's gonna hold the alternator up and away so we can get the AC compressor in and mounted. So I'm just gonna lift this up. See if I can give it a little twist. All right, I'm just gonna grab my 14 millimeter. I'll start that in a few more threads here. We'll tighten it up after. So right here on the alternator is where the lower bolt's gonna go, and that's gonna go right through the tensioner assembly. So you just wanna try to line up those holes. Just give it a little wiggle. The tensioner assembly has like a block. We'll say it's a solid block like this, right? And has a hole through the middle. But anyway, the alternator has got those 2 ears. So what we're looking at from the front is this ear with the hole. We're trying to slide it. But if you remember, we were trying to push back the bushing that was on this side, and it didn't really want to push back, right? So what we're trying to do now is just slide those 2 over, and it's very close. They're like super close to where they're going to connect to the tensioner. So it's just going to give us a little bit of an issue. We'll give it a try. Just give it a couple loving bonks and see if we can get it in there. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Looks like it's starting to go. I'll just show you the ear that I'm going on here. Right up along here. I'm just trying to give it a couple bonks down. As I bonk it down, it should be trying to twist the alternator into its position. If we could get that bushing pushed back like we originally tried to, this would just drop right in easy peasy, but nothing's ever easy. Keep on bonking. We've got our upper bolt. I'm just gonna install it. Okay, my 14 millimeter extension and a ratchet, of course. Oops. Since we have the other one already started, I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten this one right up. Okay, it's bottomed out. Let's give it a little bit. Now we're gonna tighten up the top. Same thing. Okay, bottomed out. A little bit more, just so we know that it's nice and snug. Cool. Grab that, and off we go. Next step. So right on the bracket for the tensioner, they've got these little ears, and that's where your AC compressor is going to sit onto, okay? So once you lift it up into the general position of where it's going to go, those ears are going to help you hold it up there. So the hard part is getting it up there. There we are. Now I'm just going to hold it with one hand. I'm going to maneuver it around and push on the upper bolt until hopefully it goes into one of its holes, or its hole, not one of its holes. It's only got one hole it wants to go into. I'm going to use my 12 millimeter short extension, my 1/4 inch ratchet. I'm just going to see if I can get this bolt started. Once I have one bolt started, at least a few threads, I'll move along and I'll start doing the other 3 bolts. Okay, we've got a few good threads. Just gonna get this off of here. Give my compressor a wiggle, make sure that it is actually started in. Awesome. Now we're going to start the other 3 bolts. Get that top one up back there. This bolt's easiest through the wheel well. 12mm, 1/4 inch ratchet. Put this on here. Okay, snug, tight. All right, let's do the 2 lower. Okay, got it bottomed out. I'm just gonna go ahead and snug it up now. Just give it a little bit. Come on, baby. Oh yeah, tight. Okay, last bolt. Okay, bottomed. A little bit more. That's it. All 4 bolts are nice and tight. Let's move along to the next step. Okay, so we've got our bolt that holds the bracket for the AC line to the engine. Just a small 10mm headed bolt. Start it right in there. Use my 10 on my 1/4 inch ratchet. I don't need too much pressure on this. Once I bottom it out, I'm just gonna give it a little extra and that's it. Okay, bottom. Tight. Let's move along to the next step. Okay, so I just want to show you the inside of the water pump pulley. As you can tell, the water pump was leaking for quite a while. We get a lot of crusties in there. We want to go ahead and clean that out the best we can before we reinstall. And we definitely want to make sure the surface along the back right here is nice and clean. That's where it's going to go up against the new water pump. So we'll get this cleaned up and we'll move along to the next step. Okay, so we got the inside of the pulley cleaned up as well as we can. I mean, you don't have to spend all day doing it or anything, but as long as you don't have too much crusties in there and the area where it connects to the water pump is nice and clean, you're doing all right. Something else to pay attention to is the ribbed area of the pulleys. A lot of times you'll see some gunk in there, okay? Just use a small brush like this and a little bit of parts cleaner. Generally speaking, you can get the majority of it out of there. As long as it's clean for the most part, of course, wear some safety glasses and everything. You're doing all right, okay? If you have any big chunks of anything in there, you want to make sure you get them out. You're also going to check the rest of your pulleys. Anything that has the ribbed areas, like these right here, you can see it's got crud in there, falls in when we're working. You want to make sure you get it out of there, okay? So any of these pulleys that have ribs, just make sure you get out as much crud as possible. I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll move along to the next step. So we'll just get this on here, just like that. We'll have it set in there. Now we're gonna move. Okay, so we've got the belt coming around, goes around this pulley right here, idler, underneath the water pump pulley, up over the top of this idler, around your power steering, and then up completely over the top and over. For the bottom, you go onto the crank, up over the lower pulley, lower idler pulley, around the AC, up over the alternator there, and it goes under that one, and then across the top of the water pump. Okay, so now that we've got everything so it's semi-lined up, we can't obviously put it on completely yet because we have to get the fan on here, and then we can use the tensioner and put the belt on. But we got it all semi-lined up, so it looks like we should be good to go to continue on to the next step. Okay, it's time to install our cooling shroud and fan. I'm just gonna get the shroud so it's down in there waiting for me. I'll get my fan lined up. Let's see, I'm gonna try to pull it away so you can hopefully see a little bit. Get that down in there. There we are. Okay, I've got 4 of these nuts right up here. So I'm just gonna, I'll get them started on. We'll tighten them down in a minute. One. I'm going to use my ratchet with my 14mm. I'm going to maneuver the tensioner so it releases tension on the belt, gives me more slack essentially, and I can put my belt over all my pulleys. Okay. Just going to get my ratchet out of here. Before I go any further, I'm just going to double check to make sure the belt's on all my pulleys. Beautiful. Okay. Keep going with my double check in here. All right, at this point, without starting up the vehicle, it looks as though I'm on all my pulleys. We'll double check it again after we have a chance to start the vehicle. We can move ahead to the next step. Okay, using our same 14mm socket and ratchet that we were using, we're gonna go back on the tensioner. We're gonna apply opposite pressure. I'm pushing down at this point. That's applying pressure to the belt, and it's gonna prevent this pulley from spinning while I tighten up these nuts. Nice and tight. All right, it's nice and tight. This one, nice and tight. There we are. All 4 are nice and tight. We can move along to the next step. Okay, it's time to get this lined up. At the bottom, right down here, you have a little hooky-doo that comes off the radiator, comes like this, and then the shroud slides down in it, like that, okay? So you need to try to get the bottom pressed up against the radiator, and then slide it down into its little groove down there. Once it seems like it's in, you can just go ahead and give it a little bonk, just like that. A little loving bonk makes the world go round. Over here. Here we are. Okay. Inside with the radiator, you got these little square nuts here. They just go right inside these slots. I'm gonna go right up in the top. Just like that. It slides right in the side, and that just makes it so the bolt has something to go into. I'll do the same on the other side. Okay. Got one of our bolts started in there. I'm gonna leave it loose for this second until I start this one. There we are. Once it feels like it bottoms out, like that, I'm just gonna give it a teeny bit more. Give it a wiggle, feels good. Do the same thing over here. You don't want to apply too much pressure on these because the radiator's plastic, right? Okay, bottomed out. A little more. Give her a nice wiggle. The bottom doesn't separate from the radiator. That means we did a good job getting the fan shroud into the little hooky-doos down there. On this side over here, we have that little clamp or clip that held the hoses. So I'm just gonna go like that. See if I can get it to plug in there. There we are. That just makes it so they can't wobble around, go too far, cause an issue. Let's move along to the next step. Okay, so we've got our little push clips here. You just want to take it while they're open, or the center's lifted out, push in the outer ring, and then push in the center. Okay, you can start from the center, you can start from one side. You do you, boo-boo. I'm gonna put that one there, I'll find it later. Grab that. See if I can push through the center. Some of these are in pretty poor condition. maybe I'll get some and replace those. Watch the video on that. There we are. Those are all in. You can move ahead to the next step. Okay. I'm going to grab this clamp with my pliers, hopefully. There we are. Slide the hose over the radiator. Try to get my pliers on there. There we go. Bring this over. Give it a nice little tug. It's going nowhere. You can move ahead to the next step. So here we go. We're going to install our coolant reservoir. Just line up the holes. We've got our 3 bolts. I'm going to start them all in before I go ahead and tighten any of them down. There we are. We'll tighten these down. Okay. Start with the hardest one to get to, because why not? Feels like it's getting close. Okay, bottomed, teeny bit. There we go. Just gonna grab the other 2. Bottomed. There it is. Let's move to the next step. Time to install this. This hose lines up with this, slides right on there. It's going to close right up. Of course, we're going to fill it first, but just to show you, clips on there, easy peasy. Okay, it's time to install our engine cover. We've got 2 little hooky-doos like this. One's going to go here, one's going to go there. This is going to set flat down, and then we've got a little piton there, one there, going to go in there. Line them up, bring it down, line up the studs with the holes. We've got 2 nuts. Tight. Tight. Looking good. Okay, it's time to get this skid plate back up. We've got a little hook right there. That's gonna go right in this hole right here, okay? What that's gonna do is make it so if you had to, you could let go, right? And or you can hold towards the front and you don't have to worry about holding up the whole weight of the skid plate. So I'm just gonna take my bolts for the forward end of it. Get it started in the hole there. I'm not gonna tighten it down until I get all 4 started. All right, nice and easy here. Come around, see if I can see up there. And this one. Perfect, let's move ahead. All right, so we've got our forward skid plate. We've got our little hooks on the skid plate. They go right up inside the slots, okay? You got 2 hooks, you got 2 slots. So just bring it so it's straight up and down. Line the hooks up with the slots. Now at this point, you can release the front, assuming you have both hooks there, and you can move along to the back where we can get this in and situated. All right. should be going to go up in there. There we go, that one started. There we go. Just gonna blast them up in there. Theoretically, most of these skid plates have 4, right? 2 up here too, so if you have those 2 up there, you're gonna wanna make sure you start those before you tighten these. There you go, tight. Tight. Very nice. Okay, friends. So, I just want to show you this real quick. Something you can buy right at 1aauto.com. It's a little spill-proof funnel. Okay, this is really great because it's got pretty much every accessory that you might need inside of it. Doesn't matter what kind of vehicle you're working on. More than likely, we have an adapter for it right in there. So, for the Toyotas, it's green, right there. We're gonna grab the small cap. Goes right on like this. Okay. And then, of course, we got all these adapters, like I said. So, if you ended up needing any of those for a different type of vehicle, you can, of course, use something like that. Got our funnel. You're going to want to make sure you have access to this. This is a little plunger, or plugger. Okay? So now what we'd want to do, we're just going to put some coolant in this. This is universal coolant. It's not green coolant, just so you know. Looks a little green, but it's not. Open up our little plunger here. It's going to burp out any air that's in there. We're going to add a little bit more as soon as this is done here. All right. So now we're going to get all of our extra pieces out of the way here. Take this, just kind of set it. Well, whatever. Wherever you want to put it really, so it's not going to fall. Now we're going to start up the vehicle, let it run for a few minutes. It's going to help burp out any air that's in there. And as the air comes up, the coolant's going to continue down. Once that's done, running for a little while, we're going to make sure that the cooling fans turn on. Once those turn on, it should be fully burped out. And at that point, we'll be able to move ahead to the next step. Okay, so this has been running for a while now. We turned it off, let it sit for a minute. Now I'm just going to grab the hose. It's going to be a little warm. Make it quick. There we are. I push the plunger down in. That's going to make it so I can lift up on this funnel. And I'm just going to put the excess right inside this overflow. After we put that in the overflow, we'll top off the overflow to where it needs to be. And then we should be all set to move along. There's that. I'm going to grab a little bit more coolant for in there. Before we do that, it's warm. Get this off of here. There we are. All right, I'm just going to grab some more coolant to top this off. We'll be all set to move ahead. All right. Get this up to our level there. There we are, just below the full line. I like to have it right in between the full and the low. And that way there, when the coolant expands or contracts, it has space to go. So, there we are. We'll just grab our radiator cap. Put this back in here. Nice. All right, so we'll get these back clipped in. There we are. This one right here. Should just peel away. There, there. Should be another clip for right here. I don't know where it is. There we are. Push that in. There we go. All right, let's move ahead to the next step. All right, so we're gonna grab the wheel, bring it to our leg, and we're gonna use our leg / ab muscles to lift the wheel up. We don't wanna go like this and lift with our backs, okay? Save your back, use your ab muscles. That's what they're there for. Start that one lug nut on there so the wheel can't wobble around very much. There we are. Now we'll grab the other 5 lug nuts, We'll bottom them all out, bring it down, and torque them down. Okay, so we're gonna use our 21 millimeter socket, and we're gonna torque these down to 85 foot-pounds in a star/snowflake pattern, okay? So essentially just go from one side to the other, crisscross. Never go around in a circle. You could torque your wheel down at an angle, and it'll loosen right up as you drive down the road. So just bounce around. There you are. In case you feel like you maybe missed some or you just want to go around again anyway, just go ahead and go around. It doesn't cost anything. You're already here. Booyah.
Thanks for watching. Visit 1aauto.com, your place for DIY auto repairs, for great parts, great service, and more content.